Fine. Okay, welcome to the committee of the whole. We'll start the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. A motion to call the meeting to order.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Any addition or a motion to adopt the agenda?
Very straightforward, I think. So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Yes. Yes.
Any additions? I should have asked for any additions. Fine with
No.
Joe walking us through, okay?
No closed portion, right?
No. As of now, okay. Joe, we'll pass it over to you and you can walk us through some of the changes you've incorporated. And I know there's been a few questions come in from some residents. Maybe you can address some of those as well.
Sure. We have a public participation.
Yeah, we didn't have it on the agenda. I didn't put it on it. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Probably should have.
Yeah. That was missing. We should have added that. We'll add that to it then. Okay,
Hands up.
anybody like to ask a question? The public participation? Okay, I don't see any hands. We'll come back to you at the end, and if you have some questions, we can address them at that time. Okay, we'll move forward, Joe.
Sure. So this is the 2023 draft capital requests budget. So the total expenditures of expected in 2023 are $1.576 million. The previous version was around 2 million. So what's changed here is we've removed the main movers here. We've removed a capital request for the new fire engine, which was previously budgeted around $900,000. Instead, we've included road surfacing and drainage improvements for the season. What we can reasonably expect to, or minimum we expect to spend to keep it going at $350,000. The original ask was around $600,000. But this is kind of like what we need to do to keep the roads functional.
Perhaps I could just interject there. The thinking there was the roads that need resurfacing are all slated for the water main replacements in the next 0 to 10 years. And so we prefer not to resurface more than we absolutely need to. So the idea here is to tide us over the next couple of winters.
This is a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
And which roads are we planning to do in this Band-Aid?
The main portion is the portion of Ocean View from Stewart up to Mountain. I don't need to tell you that it's, you know, it's the divots in the road are terrible. High View, Creek View, and that's it.
Nothing on Ocean?
When you say,
That would be nice, but
You think there's more like that?
there's a year.
Carl, when you say, just tiding us over, if we do replace a water main, and most of them run down the middle of the road, but not all of them.
Mhm.
If you do replace a water main, do we really have to take up the whole road? I mean, a trench box and a shallow, a narrower cut.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the project, most of them are larger, and the idea is to do some recambering and drainage as well. So the whole road has to come up. These particular projects, we're actually talking to BA Blacktop next week about it. Because they're a preferred vendor, so this is a non-bid situation, as I understand it. Although I want to check that with purchasing as well.
I can comment on that from what happened last year.
Okay, that would be good.
So BA Blacktop get a contract with Westland every year.
Yeah.
They agreed to allow us to latch onto it at the preferred rate. And we decided that, you know, the point was going out to bid, we weren't going to beat that number. So that's what we did for the last 2 years.
That's a council decision because obviously public funds, but what the proposition there is they will be doing some milling. And hence a little bit of recambering, you know, as much as you can do within the how much asphalt is left. So it'll be more than just a complete Band-Aid. We'll get a little bit of improved drainage out of it. But to answer your question, when the water main projects come about, that would be a full R&R on the road, including drainage.
Okay. So we have one on the list here in the moment, right? Ocean View, 200.
Yeah.
So, the Creek View, that short 90 meters that we're talking about?
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about that in a minute, but does that include redoing the entire road?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can talk a little bit. Okay.
So Carl, just quickly, that's the Bayview part there from Stewart up to Mountain, and that's Highview,
Highview, Creek View, and I'm drawing from memory, and my notes are all over the place. I still haven't managed to transcribe them all.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to give me some latitude there, but
Okay. And
they're prioritized and identified on schedule. So,
okay.
and this was the economy price. So, there is more,
Yeah, sure.
but that's as I understood it from now, that's the must have. Because next year it will be 600 and the year after that will be 1.2. Simply because there'll be no road left.
Right.
All to be dug up again when the water main gets replaced. And the reason that the road is so degraded is because the water main needs replaced. It's leaking underneath. And so alligating, there's freeze-thaw cycles going on. The road is bad because the water is bad.
Yeah.
Not just the water main, the drainage, right?
as well.
And the drainage.
Yeah. Do we know how much is water main, how much is drainage? I mean, on Bayview, I would think it's largely drainage, right?
Yeah, because
Because the water main's been replaced.
the line ditch there is. We did actually line it with concrete about 3-4 years ago, so that's actually helped a lot. So
Yeah.
there's less water running under Bayview now.
But that section of Baby Pipe has not been replaced.
The pipe is unreplaced.
That's the drip project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bayview of
Okay.
Sunset.
So what part has been replaced?
The lower part by the school, I think, got replaced at some point.
Oh,
But only just because, that's the reason we don't have adequate fire flow to school is the drip project.
mhm. So we got some new pipe that's tied into old pipe and
Always.
restricting it. Okay. Okay.
The other big one that was added in from the previous version was the bridge deck joints for $300,000.
Well, I mean, I did actually speak to the engineer about that, the engineer being ISL, and they said that we can not do that this year. It'll just be more next year. Because again, that's a freeze thaw. Apparently, the issue is that water is getting into the deck joint. So how a bridge works is you have these abutments, concrete abutments, over it go beams. In our case, they're all reinforced concrete, and then a deck on top. And the water is getting between the road and the beam. And there's supposed to be filler in there. The filler is long gone, long degraded. And so now it's freeze thawing. And you can see right here, for example, on the bridge over Harvey, there's a gap there that we're filling with asphalt every time we get it out. But it's water is in there, and those all need to be dug out. And I fear what we're going to find when we dig it out. But we've got to do it sometime, and so the proposition was to do
So
it.
are those concrete slabs precast or they cast in situ?
The beams.
Yeah.
No, they're brought in, they're precast and pre-stressed, I think, from what, but this is now 40, 50 years ago.
So when you open that up, you likely see some rebar that's falling.
Possibly. And then it's a whole different project. But then at least we know. We did have a bridge inspection done 6 years ago, and it was a clean bill of health. Now, they didn't go and dig up the bridge ends. They had a snooper truck and they looked underneath and they hammer tested and stuff. So the prospect is that they're probably okay. We'll find out.
So what happened here in the fall, that was essentially some putty going in. Yeah. Mhm.
And the other reason for so the reason why we went partly for the reason we went down from 2.1 million last version to 1.5 is we've readdressed the Lions Bay Beach Park revitalization project for what we could expectedly have contractors actually work on in the current year.
This year,
Yeah, so that's at 200,000, used to be at 500,000. So that's at 300,000 swing downwards.
That was a guess on our part. So is that realistic? No more, no less?
I suggested we had David Lee did a cash flow that he came with the office for the monthly report. I can't remember the number, but he did do one.
Yeah.
So you should have some information from the committee.
Did that suppose that we were going to do some work before the summer?
A small amount, I would have thought, yes, if I recall, we have a committee meeting tomorrow night. But it was part of the last quarterly report that we put in for that grant, so you should have that information.
Well, I mean, we're getting down to the short strokes now, so it's, I mean, you know, if you think this number is good, we think we can spend it. More will be.
I don't think you'll spend more.
We'll be.
It's a question of when you buy the playscape stuff.
That's, yeah.
And that'll eat up most of that.
This was not actually for the playscape. This was landscaping and a demo and initial prep of the washroom. And because we don't know what that looks like yet. We had a look at the playscape, the top playscape, the small kid playscape this morning. We're going to repair it one more year as requested.
It's gone regardless, so yeah.
Well, we have the information. I'm sure the committee has the information. I argue David need to send it to you guys tonight.
Carl,
We're guessing here. I think we've actually worked this out. Because they had a schedule. I won't find it. I missed the last meeting. Did this come up in the last meeting? I had a sick pet. I had to go home 5 minutes into the meeting.
Carl, on those logs, I was down at the marina today and they were talking about, I think they had talked to you about those logs. Does that come into the beach or is that repair?
No, that's maintenance. That's not CapEx. Although I can tell you about that. That's something that.
Because they were suggesting that the beach party might want to change that configuration. I had mentioned, obviously talk to you and maybe include the beach group together on that.
That's something that we want to talk about separately in terms of public works wish list for the beach. But just in summary, what that entails is taking the long row of logs that are currently attached to the float. Yeah. Replacing them with a new product, which is about 1 meter wide, self-floating plastic walkway. So that kids can sit on it, climb on it, hang their legs off the side, walk along it. The logs, those logs that crash together like this, the chains are just about done. We've ordered new chain that's coming. I just told the marine to go ahead with the diver because the anchor block has moved. So that has to be repositioned. That's going to be, but that's maintenance. That's not a CapEx for the beach park. Yeah. But in terms of the new look, and you have to actually think, what is that boom doing for us? You know, it stops some waves, it demarks the beach so that you don't have jet skis and stuff. It stops logs coming in during the summer. But you know, do you actually even want a boom? Is the question, or do you just want to float up?
Might be something the beach group gets together and discusses.
Those are sort of questions that we want the answers to.
You know what you want, because it's going to create a little bit of a different look if that were incorporated.
Well, you're not going to get that into the beach park project. I don't think there's going to be any space there to get anything else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't part of the grant application. There was a suggestion of replacing the rooms with a HDPE pipe.
Black?
Yeah.
Corrugated?
No. And it's done that way on Boyer, right? And seeing these from tracking for the kids who actually walk out of it, slip the fall in the water. They all go out and use that. They use that instead of the raft.
How big a pipe?
Pretty big one, I would have thought, you know, at least 24 inch, 36, something like that.
Okay.
But they don't use the very heavy gauge stuff, so it's maybe not that expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's not pressurized, right? So you don't need like a DR12.
So you just tap them at each end.
Like a DR24 or something, which is relative to the age.
I mean, that's getting into the weeds on the beach park, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind people who know what the plan is, saying whether that number is good. 200 for this year.
Okay.
Because
As I said, we have a committee meeting tomorrow night, so we can answer it tomorrow night if you want.
you're telling me I must be there.
Okay.
Is that going to significantly change this?
I think we want to get this, I think we want to get this budget as accurate as we can. I think there's enough swag in this budget. Not, I don't know if we don't need to.
Yeah.
You know what a swag is, right? It's a scientific law, those guests, but it's not normal, that much swag. Find out.
Don't forget that to Well, I don't think, we can probably get that by tomorrow morning, actually.
Possibly, I'll give David a call.
Okay, good. And then you can get that
Drop the,
dialed in.
Yeah.
Okay, could I go back to the bridge deck joints, 300,000 for the bridge deck joints, is that all of them?
Yeah,
7 bridges?
7 bridges, yeah. Not the driveway bridge at the end of Lions Bay Ave, and not the driveway bridge across Alberta.
But all the.
Yeah. Council may remember that the quote had been 150. It's now 300. That's more realistic. And who knows what we'll find, but at least that will allow us to look on both ends of the bridge this time.
What's the other for 25,000?
It's other.
What is it?
We don't know.
And we put a placeholder in there
Yeah,
just
it's a
in case something is off.
So I think somebody's got to know a little more. There was a resident we all know who sent in an email, and I think he's indicating that some people know, perhaps others don't. Does anyone have an idea what the other is?
It was a plug, but if you're not happy, just take it out.
Yeah, tell you that.
Just take it out.
It's almost a contingency, I would say, if anything else is off, but
Yeah,
What's the email?
yeah, it came in from a resident.
Finance committee meeting,
A what, sorry?
from the finance committee meeting.
From the finance committee meeting.
Anyway,
somebody just didn't like it. Well, when Joe and I talked about it, I said, I don't know what it is, but it's contingency.
Mhm.
But we don't have to have it in. We'll do the contingency within the budget for individual project budgets.
yeah, and we cancel if you need a budget for something, the council can pass an additional budget.
Yeah.
Let's take it out.
That's right. Can I just understand under the water fund, when I see these line items here, they are just for the water portion? For example, line item 1, survey and design of stormwater road, water main work on Ocean View Road. So that doesn't include any pavement?
No, that one, Joe, didn't we say that was 50-50 with the general fund?
that's what I got. And so that would be the other $50,000 up there.
Yeah, it just doesn't say Ocean View in front of it. Yeah.
So just to understand that, I mean, I'm looking at 215 meters, survey design and water main work, and I see 50,000. So, I mean, that's nothing, right? Where
That's just design, yeah.
That's just
that's
design.
the design.
Well, then it's 100,000, which is comfortable.
Yeah,
It's a lot of design.
well, it's a long stretch.
Yeah.
And as you remember, Councillor Abbott, that was because the previous design was outrageous.
Okay.
And so this is really an update on that. Do we need the 100? I'm only going by what the engineer's estimate was. We have to be guided by them. That's what they said it would cost. I'm hoping it comes significantly less because we're going to trot out the previous one and say we just need these numbers updated to 10-year rental.
Corrected.
Correct.
Yeah, so it should be a lot less than that.
John, I've talked about it, but that's the best number we have.
It's
And I can't remember exactly what we paid for the first design, but it was less than that.
Yeah.
We definitely didn't pay 100K for the design. They were always in the tens of thousands.
That's true. I mean, there might be some, I would suggest that council parks that and sees what else there is.
Okay,
So would I understand item 2 there as well, but that has actual construction cost in it at 60% under, so it'd be what, 200 in the low 200s, right?
245, I think.
Yeah.
235.
235, whatever the math is, yeah.
25, 135 and 90. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Third line down? Yeah.
225.
Now that, to me, for a 90-meter stretch of road, it seems a little light. To
Yes.
us. But again, this is the best estimate that we've.
I thought it was plenty at $2,000 a meter, but you tell me we're replacing the road surface as well. That's different. That's the estimate we've got. I mean, just go with it.
Yeah.
And that estimate was recently updated.
Yeah.
Inflation escalated.
And that may have had something to do with it, more modern prices.
And so third item down, survey and design. Now that's just survey and design of the water tank is 100,000.
Yeah, the proposition there is to replace the highway water tank, which is this one down there, with PRV and surge tower.
Mhm.
That requires quite a bit of engineering because there's. First of all, there's the council has to decide, is this above ground or below ground? And that's the first issue. And once we know that, then we can sort of give the brief to the engineers to do the design. There's a problem with water hammer in that stretch, and we thought that rather than have the all singing, all dancing PRV, would have a surge tower that would, it's a capped tower, 20 feet high.
Yep.
Yay big, with cap on top. The air pressure just does something. I don't even know if that will work. But that's the number which ISL provided us that the design would take. I think that's
Generous?
that seems no.
For survey and design?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, for the amount of work that needs to be done.
Where else are you down here?
We have done quite a bit of Councillor Edwards and O'Donnell and I, that we've done quite a bit of design work on 3 previous PRVs.
Yep.
I imagine some of it can be reused, designed. Or is the above ground completely different to the below ground? If council wants to go below ground in the future.
I think it would be a new design. I think, I mean, none of the 3 previous PRBs ended up looking the same as each other because they're all designed for separate purpose, right?
Yeah.
So they all change. The concepts, yes, don't.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll get an infrastructure. You need to talk about PRBs. I've got a thought about how to do what's like a hybrid version using the existing. I'm not sure if it pans out.
Existing tank is
Well, yeah, use the existing block, keep them underground. The problem with that is the safety thing that causes the problem. And the safety thing is caused by the fact that you've got a charge line that you work inside a confined space. Well, if you jump around outside of that and you don't have a charge line, does that change the safety?
Yes, it does. But we've been talking about them exactly that concept, so that you depressurize the thing entirely.
Yeah.
Do whatever it is you need to do within the PRV. Sometimes the inspection is just a visual inspection. You check that all the valves are greased and all that stuff.
I think we can, and we still automate the valves by leaving them in the ground. We can just use SCADA.
Yeah.
We still put all that into it, and then we don't have to spend $500,000 each time.
Precisely.
Anyway, that's the infrastructure committee discussion. Well, Marcus, your few.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got a few.
Yeah.
So did we work out what happened to the $190,000 geohazard risk?
I don't know how that came about. It's gone.
It's gone?
Yeah.
Does it exist?
It certainly exists as a project, but I would say it's fairly low on public works radar.
Okay.
It's not even on public works radar.
Is it the one that I was referring to?
Yeah.
That was what I had in the original budget from NI, geohazard mitigation project number 62, 190,000 on Alberta Creek.
Yeah, I'm sure he wanted to,
And that was just
not all. And when do you put it on the list? Well, you put it on the list, but it's not a priority.
No, okay, good, because that's just the design. We came to council meeting, it's a $2 million project.
I would suggest to council that is not municipal bailiwick. I think you need to talk to the province about that.
Well, yeah, and I think we also need to, when we look at things like this, we need to talk about, we need to evaluate the risk. I'm not a fan of Mr. Freely, and everything needs to happen now, and the sky's always going to fall. And what is the real risk before you spend $200 million, $2 million? Anyway.
Doesn't he have it as a priority there? Right. Because when we put stuff on there that he said was a priority.
His note on that one was priority high, an isolated vulnerability of the pipe crossing Alberta Creek at 260 meters elevation. On the right bank, the buried pipe follows a bulldozed grade toward Timbertop Road. Potential for debris to avulse onto the right bank following the ascending grade and affect housing on Timbertop Road and downslope.
That's all true. I would reassess the priority. There is a pipe going across the creek there, on a concrete bridge. And it's the thing that connects the mag site to the harvest tank.
You don't think there's an imminent risk?
If it's going to start raining in a week, but no. We've lived 50 years since Alberta was channelized. And it's handled everything so far.
What elevation is the pipe above the basin, the bottom?
About 25 feet. Quite high.
Okay.
maybe more, 30 feet.
It's not gonna
So it would
take
take
enough
one of those events tumbling down.
Like a very serious event with trees and train and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you have to assess the risk. And it's not catastrophic because we can shut off the two sides of the village, so we wouldn't run out of water. We'd run out of water because the tanks would empty into the creek, but we'd close the valves and then we'd start building up water again.
But it would take a debris torrent to take it out.
And it's fairly serious.
Yeah.
Because
That would not be our biggest problem if there was a debris torrent.
Yeah, quite fast.
Okay. Okay, having been here for the last debris torrent, yeah.
The additional work on Bayview Driveway Bridge. But in the rest of the budget, it says on page 17, this is all a maintenance cost. And all of this is a maintenance cost. Now we're taking part of it and making the capex. Shouldn't this all be on maintenance costs on page 17? There's a big write up there. It says why, from last week's meeting, it says why it's a maintenance cost.
Yeah, that should be an office.
The 75K to OpEx?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Well, hang on. Is it important, what's the difference between capital and operating? A typical definition of capital is it's a betterment of some item. So you're improving something. If you're just fixing it, does this come in anywhere there?
It's a great line. Yeah, sure. But the point I'm making is if you look at page 17, we've already written up the rest of the explanation around that thing as a maintenance cost. So all of it should be in the same bucket. You can't have 75K that gets added in a different line.
So why do you think this is separate here?
I'm saying it shouldn't be.
No, why would it be, why does he have a capital budget?
Because I misled you.
Oh, okay, so it just, yeah, that's fine. So my other question, when you bring that up, is these tires. Why would we have truck tires on a capital budget?
Yeah. Let's get it next. Let's make
That's
sense.
gonna be moved to, that's when the assets, I'll bring that up. as well.
Let's do what we gotta make.
Yeah, when we like to OpEx fire department.
Okay, the small engine, 10,700. We did this last year. Vehicles there, it's all shiny and new.
That's the red one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is from last year. They're all red.
the shiny red one, yes.
So we got a great deal. We bought that one for $10,700 and then we sold the dilapidated one for
10,000.
10,000. But both of those are last year's, shouldn't be in this budget at all.
We just had a bunch of expenses for stickers, right?
Deckling and all that.
Yeah, so it's called customizing.
And unless, I don't know, unless it hasn't been paid for yet.
No, I talked about this.
Or something. I don't know.
If you don't know what this is, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I know.
So I met with fire chief, it's supposed to be for 1 hour, it was more like 2.
And this is a late installment payment deal or something. I don't know about it. This is all taken care of last year.
No, there's nothing else really
Okay.
for 63.
And then what happened to the trailer that we must have?
So the trailer is included in the 10,000 there.
Is?
Yes.
Okay, so last year, the washing machine and dryer was going to cost 21. And this year we're going to get it for half the price and a trailer?
So that was
not adding up.
after discussions, the original amount that was in there was deemed to be too high. So the recommendation from council was to reduce it. And so I put in the number that was recommended. I can pull up the video.
No, but it's never saying it makes no sense.
Yeah, so I mean, like, where do you want to land on that? I think, do you have anything?
Okay, so my recollection and looking back at last year's budget, there was, and that washer dryer has been here for a while, and it's like 21 grand, but it's rebudgeted anyway, so it shouldn't be costing us anything. It should be done as a rebudget. But I mean, I understand it has to be there if we are finally going to buy it. But the trailer quote, they've got it already.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, so we did it last year. Okay, so it's just,
No, I think we arrived this year.
okay, I arrived this year.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be in the budget though.
It was budgeted last year, but bought this year. Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were holding off until they'd done the renders. Okay, so that makes sense. But then you quoted a number for the new trailer. I didn't have a number.
14,500 to buy, and we think we can sell the old one for 6.
Okay, so the 10 grand here will
And
cover the
if you
trailer.
will allow me to count the operational cost savings against the capex, It'll pay for itself in 18 months.
Catch up for that. Yeah.
No, we know we need it. No, we know we need it. It's no brainer. So, okay, so that if the washer dryer has already been done, and I can never understand why, what kind of washing, however, I see this thing for that price. But then we need just a trailer cost in there, unless we have paid for the washer dryer.
We haven't paid for the washer dryer.
So what washer dryer is this?
To wash the fire plate.
Switching the final
okay.
point.
Yeah, so they-
It's special stuff, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I bought the last stuff that wore out 20 years ago.
No, it needs to be done.
Okay,
And there's a fair amount of fire stuff that, because we went a little cavalier on the engine budget, that the fire chief really would have preferred to see within there. I think it's now too late to start messing with the numbers. You guys want to nail it down, not reopen the thing. But for example, he needs this exhaust extraction system needs to be fully replaced. Its cost is
85,000.
70,000 is what he told me, the Netherman system. But that's not insignificant. That he wants to wait until the hall gets redone. But the whole thing, that needs to be opened up again because prices have gone up. He doesn't necessarily believe that some of the things that were previously conceived of there he needs. He would like different things done to make better use of the money.
The fire chief.
Yeah, yeah.
This diesel exhaust system upstairs.
So when you get into the discussion, there's more than one stakeholder there, right?
Exactly.
Search and rescue come to mind.
Well, so, that's not for this budget discussion, but that's a discussion that council does need to have quite soon.
But why isn't it in here at all? Because surely we're spending something.
So I reviewed the application for the CLAT renovation that we got funded for. There is no line item for what Mr. Bear is proposing in that budget. So I asked if we could squeeze it in there somehow, but it was not budgeted for in the grant application that we made.
Okay.
So he brought the question to this exhaust system, extraction system, because you noted that it may be a WCB requirement for the protection of the firefighters, and that need to be done right away. So it's we were trying to see if we could work it into the CLAT budget, but I don't think you can because that was not part of. There's no line items in the CLAT renovation.
Okay.
So it would be a new capital request. It's not currently reflected here, so that would be a discussion for council if they would like to fund that or not.
Okay, so my question is somewhat different. Before we can go back to that, but I was asking, why is there nothing in this capex budget for the TAT building now?
So
We had it in all of it last time, and now we've got zero. There's money being spent. Unless Michael John's working for free, and that'll be a first.
So from our last meeting, the question was, okay, well, you used to have both 499,000 for Lions Beach Park, but the CLAT building hasn't been budgeted for capital requests in the current year. We just don't know if we're going to be able to get it done or not. If we can get contractors in there and getting it started right away, for sure.
It's all done.
It's all done. It's not.
No, no, so the guy's working on it now.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen any invoices.
So I don't think we can get it finished this year, but we should be budgeting something. As I said, we're spending design money at the
I
moment.
hope they haven't finished this year. I mean, to Andrew is still working.
They were talking, yeah.
He thinks he can get it done.
Okay.
The full.
But that was the grant funded work.
Yes.
It's not new, not,
No, it's the 499.
but I mean, that still needs to be
No,
reflected.
but when I'm talking about the design work going on, it was de-scoped once already.
Yeah.
And they had to go back to the drawing table and do a redesign, and then it was ready to go out for RFP. Right, and I don't know where that's got to. But that work happened this year, I'm sure, that additional design work. So there must be some cost. But if Andrew thinks he can build it this year, then it better be in the budget.
Yeah, we're supposed to be meeting in the next week or so to go over it.
So why isn't it back in the budget then?
Are we able to add special can we revise the budget in subsequent months? I mean, I remember doing that.
You can revise any budget anytime.
Yeah.
Nothing is in stone. You just got to get your original one in by the 15th.
Yeah, that's what I seem to remember. So
Yeah, but in sort of government world, municipal, it's not like a project, a corporate project where no one's too concerned if you start moving things around. We tax for this. Now, once we tax for it, you really want to stick to it.
Oh, yeah, you don't want
You don't want to be revising budget.
Yeah, no,
It
that's.
has some really, really good reason to need to revise the budget.
Well, what they do say is if you can't get it in by the 15th, you put in last year's budget. And then you look silly because you didn't even have an attempt at it. Okay, we should have a good attempt at it. You're not.
So be the best.
Okay,
But I think your point is correct. I mean, do we want to put something,
but Andrew thinks,
that's council's decision?
Andrew thinks he can build it, it should all be in, but it's 100% grant.
Yeah.
So it's going to be swings and roundabouts, you're going to get back to where you are on it. There's nothing coming out of reserves, no additional taxes required.
I think, it's such a large rediscussion. For example, the fire chief questions the need for having an EOC in there when we've only opened the EOC once in 20 years. When we have a whole fire hall and a whole hall available with generator and everything for the one time in.
Okay, we've been through that discussion.
I'm sure. So, I mean, I don't know about it, and I guess he doesn't know about it either. So the only things that he really would like is he wants more width in the building. He wants where the new engine is to be built in, not added to the back. He wants to change where the turnout gear is.
Okay, actually, council hasn't been involved in this, but I know there's been a lot of people, this has been designed twice now. I think we've spent, we might have spent 100K in design already. So these changes are costing money.
Our current fire chief saw the drawing unrolled in front of him and rolled up again. That's the sum total of his input.
Previous fire chief, SARS manager, ambulance, EOC manager, or coordinator, his title is. As well as the CEO, spent a lot of time on this. The council weren't involved. I've seen the drawings only because one of them sent them to me, but they never came to council. I'm just saying that I would be careful about it. Another rescoping. Anyway.
I hear you.
Well, it's 85,000 for this new vent, right? Something like that. And
So between 70 and 85.
For the exhaust system now.
Yeah, I think we should put the entire credit budget back in, add it in nicely.
but put the 499 in plus the 75. Like if he has to have it, you can't argue with it. And then just put it in with a grant. If you don't get the grant money, you don't get it.
Some of it's already grant funded.
Well, more-
499 is grant funded.
Yeah.
It's the building extensions and everything. What's not grant funded is some additional mechanical ventilation. It wasn't mentioned in the grant, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Which is replacement of an existing thing that's broken down.
No, I did ask him to put a report together to say how to justify this. I haven't seen it.
We also talked
Which has to go to council and just go through us.
we talked about this new engine request and, as I've been saying, he needed a business case around it. There is a business case to be made, and that is when the Underwriters Association comes to do the next inspection on our fire capability, engine, whatever it is, 51, is 3 years too old. It will get a failing grade, and that will immediately change the score that we get from the Underwriters Association, the Fire Underwriters Society. And so there will be a taxpayer cost. It won't be through their taxation. It'll be through the premiums that they pay on their homes, but it still comes out of the same pocket. So that is not an outrageous request. But when I started.
So the premiums on everyone's insurance, the rating that we get is going to go up.
The homeowner's insurance.
Because a fire department that the insurers look at the Underwriters Association score in order to set premiums for Lions Bay, see that we now get a C instead of an A+ or whatever the number is. By way of comparison, Strachan and Ocean Points, for slightly different properties, obviously different values, pay around 20,000 a year in homeowners insurance. And we pay, I don't know what our average is, but I think it's somewhere between 6 and 10, depending on your house.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but they got no firefighting. We're not going to go from 6 to 20. We're going to be somewhere in between.
correct. But
But either way, it's not something you want to burden taxpayers with, because that'll add up pretty fast when you multiply by 500 homes.
so that's a whole separate issue that is not, I think, going to be addressed this year. But when we start asking for budget requests for next year, we're going to start asking in October. That's less than 6 months.
And we
away.
should be looking at grants at that point as well. possibly.
But that's all part of the business case.
Yeah.
Why do we need a new fire engine? Well, it's all these other things.
Okay.
I put in for 2024 budget.
Yeah, that's it needs to be, but not this.
But not in this one.
Okay, so where did we get to? So we fixed the trailer, washer dryer is done. Joints, you explained that I had a question on confidence level in that estimate, and you basically said not that great, but happy that it's increased. And we're going to put the fire hall back in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to jump to the grants.
The fire hall's just in and out, right?
Yeah,
Grant over
it's
here.
fully funded. We've got to spend the money.
Except for the Niedermeyer system.
Right.
Except for the exhaust system.
Right, yeah.
So we agreed to put that exhaust system in. Or do we have another year's run? Is it done?
It's done. It's a work safe issue. I think we have to do.
Okay, so we're ahead of 70K.
70 or 85, depending on who you talk to.
It's like your number.
Yeah, I like 70.
Tell the accountant higher number.
Yeah, Joe.
I've never seen a number come in lower.
Not quite enough.
This doesn't happen. But there's supposed to be a big report and I just haven't seen it. Did you do one?
Oh, I didn't get one. No.
And just to be clear, this is the extraction system that you hook up when the trucks are backing in and idling
Yeah.
and ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's 85 grand.
By the way,
I can imagine.
the reason I want to slightly open up this discussion again is that there's been a request that I believe, I don't know if it's council's purview to even speak about it, but I'll mention it, is that rock garden there needs to go. We crash into it twice a year, causing $10,000 a time repair to the truck, the shiny truck, because they like people. So the chief wants that rock garden gone.
You need to train the drivers, but
He says it's the new, young, enthusiastic drivers that are in a hurry.
the same one that took the door out, yes.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
So I really need somebody to help design the profile on the driveway, because right now the rock garden is holding up the slope. If we take it out and the trees, we're going to try and transplant the trees, by the way, we have to put lock blocks in there. That needs to be reprofiled because we can't high center the truck. And I just asked the chief now, he would prefer as much of a flat spot as possible so they can back the truck out and work on it. We'll also take advantage at the time of running, get this, they currently fill the truck up with a garden hose. The onboard tank. He would like a 2.5 inch line.
No doubt.
Well, the road is going to be dug up, so we can hot tap the water line, which is right there,
Mhm.
running down the street, and put him his 2.5 inch line so that he can fill his trucks up. That's why he,
Guess they could go on a fire hydrant if they had to, eh?
and that's, so he asked, you know,
They should have a bigger hose.
they went down to Brunswick and they used the fire hydrant at Brunswick this weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a nice to have, but seeing as we're going to be reprofiling the driveway, but then that's why I need access to the design. So, you know, I know we don't want to open it up again. But there's going to be a little bit of, would that be within the grant, reprofiling the driveway? The chief says he doesn't need the doorway heightened. He would like, there's a post in there that's 3 feet wide right now. I think it's sheathed in plywood. He wants to replace that with a central beam, which will mean new doors.
I will need to get back to you on that one. I don't have that grant breakdown in front of me. I know where it is, but I can go line by line.
Point there is, of course, we're talking about slightly more money if it's not in the grant.
I think the reason that this thing went back to get de-scoped, it's quite obvious. Because you can't afford what they want in the grant.
Yeah.
So it's a case of taking things out, not adding things back in.
Well, I'll tell you, the chief is happy with building that shelter, putting walls and sides and a door on that shelter to house his truck. Then he can store all the brand new extraction equipment and stuff there, because you can't now because it rusts, because it's too moist up.
I think you should take this back to the guys that have spent endless hours getting it redesigned and rescoped and back to where it now is. I mean,
Which guys are those?
Andrew's still involved. Ed Langford from SARS. I mean, I know that, you know, Phil had a couple of requests from the EOC.
I think there's a stage for the dancing girls up there on the EOC. I think there's maybe a little de-scope still available, but that's not for me to say, that's for council to say.
Well, I think council said you got 495K.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you've got a project that's worth more. So give it
Well, I
back
think-
494K, you've got something to talk about.
Andrew's gonna know. Yes.
I need to sit down and talk to you about this, Ron, because I think this thing's taken on a life of its own. In terms of the budget discussion, I would like to reprofile that driveway and give the chief his Niedermeyer system. What is that going to cost?
Well, you need to,
We've got to get my system in.
Yeah.
And that if there was agreement around the table,
Yeah, I think we're still talking, but if you can give me another 20 to do this water line and the driveway reprofiling and That's not going to pay for new doors, so we're not going to be able to narrow that. So right now, you know, between the doors is about a 3-foot space. The chief says if you can make that 6 inches, it's going to stop half of the
That's
traffic.
framed.
We don't know, but he thinks it's just that.
We're talking about taking a built-up beam and putting in
I don't think it's
manufactured steel beam.
But so yes, there might have to be a lintel put in, don't know.
Will be something.
It's gonna be,
So those
doors alone are gonna be.
Those doors are gonna be full.
Yeah,
Doors are gonna be a lot of money.
and it does require new doors, so I don't think we'll do the post this year anyway.
No.
And you wouldn't want to.
15 and 20
Yeah.
Yeah.
doors alone
Easy.
are gonna be expensive.
Wait
Andrew,
until they drive into them again, and then we have to get new ones. Anyway,
Going off for 10 minutes.
Andrew knows all the stuff and he's a contractor. He does this sort of thing. In Langford, it's a commercial contractor. He's got all this value, and those are the two people who are most involved in scoping this thing and trying to get it back to where it was. Suggest you get together with him as well.
Well, why don't you, I saw that you do the 499 plus 85.
Mhm.
And then leave it at that, and then if you need to amend it for another 20 or 30, then you can discuss that.
or we can do it within the public works budget.
But I think you need to put the 85 in there,
Yeah, please.
but it's still subject to him producing a report, because really very few people know anything about it.
Yeah, I think that report, he does, that's a business case needs to be made, but that's pretty cut and dry. The new engine, that's more complex, and he and I are going to sit down and work through that business case. I think it's a very compelling case can be made, but not this round.
So we get next year's.
Could I ask about the exhaust system for the thing? It's 70 or 85,000, whatever it is. How old is that system actually? Because it seems to me we were looking at putting that in 10, 12 years ago. You know how long it is? Old it is?
No, you know more than I do.
Yeah, I sat down with
I
Barry.
was in taking pictures of units in Burnaby at the time. To give.
I
them an
vaguely
idea.
remember that going in as well, so
Yeah.
certainly with
It's
his.
not that old, so I'm wondering what can go wrong with it? It's pipes on a track
And
and a big blower.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
I'm confused. So where are we getting the prices from and to just throw stuff out? Does it seem?
Firefighters Monthly, but you know, the magazine that they're all advertising, so that's all I know.
No, he had a quote. He did give us a
No,
quote. I'm
being facetious, I shouldn't be facetious as.
Yeah, we'll never have a quote.
You got it. Okay, but I just, I'm asking the question. I mean, there might be a, $15,000 fix or a $10,000 fix on it. What's wrong? What's wrong with it?
It's toast, that's what I know. He said the last one he got was 20,000.
It's tubes and a blower. I'm just confused.
I'm just the messenger.
I hear you, but I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Well, may need upsizing of the pipes, that would affect everything. I mean, you'd think it would just be a box with a motor and a squirrel cage, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, I mean, it's got a track so that the pipe can follow the truck out. It's got magnets so that they pull off at the end. Is that right? Is that the one?
You know,
That's the one I
an
looked at.
infinite amount more about these needle miner systems than I ever knew, so. Yes, sounds great, I'd like to see that.
So just put a placeholder in and subject to him.
Yeah, we trust that one great.
So we'll accept that as a placeholder.
It's a lot of, we have to throw this out and put a new one in when.
But the issue is, do you want to tax for a placeholder, $70,000 and then not spend it, and then people paid 70 grand in tax, didn't need to, well. I mean, the money's not lost, but you're trying to come up with an accurate budget. To set a tax rate.
What you can do is you can put it, assuming you get a grant. And then if it's not a grant, which it won't be a grant, but at least a place doesn't mean you're not taxing for it. And it could be out of reserves. So it can be something you can tax for next year. But you can use a little bit of your reserves, just not much.
So Ron, you're suggesting don't tax for it, don't put it in as a line item, and if we have to do it, pull it out of reserves.
Yeah.
And recap for next year.
Exactly.
So what?
Because I don't think you have enough information to say you've got too many questions on it.
Yeah. Well, and does it need to be done now, or does it need to be done when the thing's been expanded? Because
Certainly you don't want to be
And it's not
going in there sawing and screwing now, yeah, you want to do it all together. And he wants to move, I mean, if he can get his change in footprint through, he wants to move. He says right now, the only reason they put all the turnout gear along between the engines is the only spot for it. And it's really hard to get into your turnout gear because there's only 24 inches between the engine. So he wants to move the turnout gear all the way into a new space where they'll also put the new wash and dry. So it's all together rather than having to hang the stuff up. I mean, it is tight in there. You have to go sideways between the wall and the engines. So he wants to widen that all out by moving the turnout gear to the end, but the design doesn't allow for that right now. But in terms of the exhaust system, yeah, I think that's probably the solution. Just pay for it out of cash for now, if it comes about, and then tax for next year, if that's about.
So is that what you're doing, you want?
Because that's what, 4%? 70,000 is 80,000.
It's $14,000 per 1% tax increase.
More than that, no.
Well, I don't know.
16,
Okay.
18, yeah.
Okay, so what's the conclusion? We're leaving it.
Leave the 499, leave the 80, whatever it is. Take it out of reserves.
85, but the 499 in, but then.
No, 49 is gonna be.
In and out.
But you've got that in revenue already, haven't you?
We took it out because
I didn't think you could spend it. Yeah.
That's gonna go in and out, yeah. And the 85 is a placeholder.
Well, I apologize, Councillor, when I do about this. My surmise was only that we got to spend all that money this year, but if you're confident that.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. It's in and out. So it's not like you're taxing for it.
Yeah, exactly.
If it gets pushed into the next year, it doesn't make any difference.
It's pushed into next year, yeah.
But Andrew thinks he can spend it. Is that what he said?
He said he thinks he,
Yeah.
once he gets going, let's get it done. He wants to do a commercial deadline or a municipal deadline. Good.
Everything.
First-
It's when he gets it done.
Yeah.
I see a lot of his emails.
Yeah.
He's a pushy guy.
Just goes, yeah, yeah.
I think that's certain.
It's very good. Assertive. Assertive. It's very good.
So are there any other items there that you wanted to go through? I think the SCADA's been there forever.
I was scared of, yeah, what are you talking about next? But the rebudget as well, right?
Yeah, 20,000 total.
I mean, for tomorrow night's discussion, I guess, but so the two things, the grants number and the rebudget number, can we just get those finally agreed what they are, the totals? Because they seem to be moving around as well.
On the income side.
Yeah,
Yeah, so well, that's a question for tomorrow.
it's I said for tomorrow night's discussion, but I don't think those are quite dialed in either.
So we're gonna have this discussion in a second. Finish your conversation, but just schedules. Right?
Yeah.
So I guess the next piece here would be just looking forward. What availability does everybody have to meet and review the budget for readings? And we need 24 hours between readings and then adoption. So latest we could theoretically do this Friday, so we'd have to do it by Wednesday or Thursday morning.
What I was thinking is, because we didn't book tomorrow, thinking if there's any issues today.
Right.
So if you're available Thursday. So tonight, hopefully tonight, or let's say tomorrow morning, you'll get the entire revised budget, gives you a day and a half to look at it. Rather than hitting you with it just for tomorrow. Thursday would be your 3 readings, Friday would be your final.
So what time are you talking Thursday?
Well, it doesn't matter, it can be anytime, whatever time works for you. I think it's too, we didn't book it today in case there's an issue today.
Yeah.
Right, because you need 24 hours notice. Right. For tomorrow. You can book it for tomorrow, we have to be at 7 o'clock.
Well, we're going to beach pop committee meeting. So at that time.
And we better book, if we're doing Thursday at 6, then we'd have to do Friday at 8 or whatever, right? Because we need that 24 hours, right?
Yeah, so the agenda will go tomorrow for both days.
Okay. So do 5 and 6. or 4 and 6, 5 and 6,
5 and
Thursday,
7.
Friday?
or 5 and 7, just to be safe.
Well, the
The
agenda,
fourth reading won't take long.
well, neither should take long. The issues have to be resolved before we go into the meetings. We're not there to discuss and debate issues. Get the agendas tomorrow, give Joe your comments, make the changes and move on.
Are we in a position to do a 5 o'clock tomorrow?
No.
Well, we could.
Theoretically, Marina could run down and make an agenda. Theoretically, she could, but I think it's asking too much of everybody.
Yeah.
Because just want to make sure everything, you have all your, take your time, look at it. It's easy to make changes, but not maybe for 24 hours.
You got a party Friday night?
Not yet.
Yeah, I'm available Thursday and Friday afternoon.
So should we do Thursday 5 and Friday 7?
Can it be done virtually?
So I say again?
Can it be done online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
But before we go there, is there anything you want to talk about on the budgets? Like, what I don't want to do is just send it on and you come back with, I don't agree with this. Like, is there something we haven't talked about?
I got to page 2 of the one we got the other day. I haven't gone through it yet. I mean,
What?
of the one we got yesterday, when the last version came out. I did look at some of Joe's.
Well, give me your comments. Well, there's no rush, we have to do it today.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I don't know. Never looked at it.
Yeah, so don't.
Is there anything that
I-
Joe would highlight?
Yeah.
Joe would highlight? Or it's
Just
just,
really put changes in from the whatever you wanted changed. You would have put those changes in.
Yeah,
yesterday.
And I added a separate PDF with from the Schedule A, which is the global summary of everything, the main items that have changed based on discussions from previous finance council meetings. I'm just hoping that would help you guys kind of dial into the specific.
Yeah, I was just looking at that now. Before we go there, can you please change the Curly Stewart to $1,000? And can you put a note behind it that it's fundraised money, it doesn't cost taxpayers?
Which one? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Curly Stewart. Thing
Oh, Curly-
second page, it says $750, it's actually $1,000 now. And it's not taxed for, it's fundraised, actually, the village owes the Curly Stewart Foundation about 11 grand.
Okay.
I was just looking at the stuff that you sent in the changes. Small communities grant, we didn't highlight this one before, and I kind of snuck in now. So the grants you got is 1537053.
Yeah, so-
Your version, your comparison.
295 hasn't changed. Last year it was, we got 350,000. We got a bonus payment last year. But typically it's about 300 or 295,000 every single year.
Okay, so that was in the previous total as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of thought when I saw the itemized last time, I didn't see small communities. We didn't discuss it, but okay, it's fine. And then the growing communities, that's a bonus that they.
We already got the cash.
David Eby gave us all to make us happy, so we vote NDP again. Ever have. The admin and labor change and council labor so have you corrected it now to CPI?
Yes.
Okay, and what was it?
6.1% or something like that.
Oh, so I did read it wrong by about 0.8. Okay,
Geez, that's high.
That is high.
quality people. You don't get shit for nothing, right?
Good, but the definition, it's increased by the trailing CPI or what you think will be the CPI?
I didn't write it.
No.
Mayor's council did. Don't look at me. I have no idea.
It was the then published CPI.
Well, the published CPI today is going to be 3 to 4%.
Speak to the.
It's in January. No, the Bible reads as of January 1st.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I looked up.
It is what it is. I'm not arguing.
Then just drag your heels and pick your moment to council salary. Yes.
It never goes down.
CPI never goes down.
No, the rate will never go down, only ever increase. We wrote that in.
What do you mean?
Can't reduce the council remuneration.
Oh,
If it's
Only
a
increase.
negative CPI,
Yeah, if there's negative CPI, if it, yeah,
then it stays the same, sure.
You're all safe.
Okay. Then
That one to the bank.
then there's something added in here, 20K for beach wall stabilization, which we discussed.
Yep.
Is that maintenance now, not CapEx?
That is not included in CapEx. It's currently in maintenance in Parks and Rec.
Okay,
Yeah, we just need a little bit extra. There's also the tree that we'd like to take down, but I think we can probably fit that within.
No, the question though is, should it be in CapEx?
What tree?
No, it's
okay.
I showed it to you. Or maybe I didn't show it to you. I told you about it. It's a big cedar next to the kayak racks that was topped.
Okay, so the beach park committee have got an arborist coming in to review all the trees and come up with a plan for the whole layout.
That tree we don't like because it's got sort of, 8-inch leaders coming out of the crown now.
Let's let them go do their job through the arborist.
I already know from having had to take down the one on the other side that was topped at the same time, that was apparently adjudged really dangerous 5 years ago. To take that one down. But we're not going to need special budget for it. The problem is getting the roots up. That cost $7,000 the last time. The tree was $2,000 to take down, and then we're left with this massive stuff. But that's all depending on what ends up being the design, because the kayak racks are all there. That walkway that's there, I was down there this morning, I was helping to spread sand. And that walkway is far too steep. That needs to be stepped. Okay. So there's lots that public works wants input.
Did they move the tree stump that they missed yesterday?
Yes.
He just loaded the excavator on the barge and I said, hey, what about this? Oh shit, no one showed it to me. Anyway,
No, you got it.
he moved it. Okay.
Did we have to get permits in that for?
No, because we're working above the high water line. And the barge is on the high seas type of thing. And they're working on, the land is provincial and the sea is federal. So there's a bit of a.
So are the logs in?
The logs are somewhat in, but the anchor is moved. So we have to get the diver is coming at some point. We think, I don't know, because it's under 60 feet of water, but we think that the block must have, been humped up because we elected to leave in the lockdowns for the winter. So drag the.
I think Councillor Bain probably hooked onto it for his boat.
I actually asked that exact question.
Yeah.
That boat and that logboom are independent, right?
Former councillor has his boat motor in front.
Nobody quite knows what it's moored onto.
Still,
No, we just think.
He's got his own.
Yeah.
And he gets a dive out to look at fairly regularly.
in fact, he had a diver there. We could go Friday.
It's stuck in it? It's stuck there?
The sailboat? Yeah. No, it's moored. Yeah, it's got a great big anchor in there. We're
And
ready.
he's over the edge a little bit, so he's got a fairly significant cost to maintain that thing. The diver has to go deep. So, but that boom is that's beach park committee stuff. But the boom, the seasonal work is not quite right because we have to get a diver to move the anchor.
But it's been connected now.
Yeah.
Now.
So the new idea isn't going to be beach park, right? You were saying that's going to be more maintenance. It's not going to be part of the beach park, although it'd be good for the beach park to sort of discuss what type of, whether you want logs or.
Well, buying the new boom, if it's this new plastic walkway thing that's, somewhat ballasted air flotation devices, that would be a CapEx item the beach park would have to, the committee would have to raise funds for. The maintenance of it would be in public works maintenance.
Any idea how much that boom would be?
No, we're finding out. But this is brought up today.
So
But for this summer, we're going with logs.
Yeah. No, they're in.
Okay.
Joe, getting back to that item I just asked you about, the 20,585 increase for admin council. Yeah, so I just did a little bit of math. So, I mean, the council part's only like 10% of that. So what's the 90%? What changed?
I updated the admin costing worksheet. I can give you a detailed review for tomorrow. When we discuss the full budget, but it's coming out from the admin costing work.
You didn't know it didn't election cost, did you?
No, I did not.
So I looked at what I did, what it.
You wanted to talk about grants
We're gonna get it tomorrow, right?
tomorrow? All right.
Well, you can talk about it now if you want.
Well, you had some that's.
Talk about stuff now. I wasn't.
Maybe
I
do it tomorrow.
just wanted to see the full kind of breakdown.
Okay, sure.
Nothing on tomorrow.
Oh,
We're not.
not tomorrow, I mean.
Thursday.
I'm gonna get it tomorrow.
Yeah,
And we're gonna get, I mean, there's projections here for grants for 24 through 27 that are quite remarkable.
They're just open.
Yeah.
They're just, again, they're placeholders. You're asking for a lot of capital expenditures, or you don't get them, you know. So you have to decide, what are you gonna do if you don't get the grants? You don't go back until.
Were all those estimates, were those from the previous council or have you?
No, they're pretty close, but it's gone up quite a bit. The biggest difference, oh no, it's not a big, there's a sale of what we took out was the sale of the land. Right, because remember we had this discussion quite a while ago, nobody knew much about it or agreed on it, so you take it out. That was about.
Was that the land, you mean the work yard land?
Yes. Yes. That's the only change. Everything else has changed a little bit, but not a lot.
What about the ocean view lot land? Because that's the one that's more likely to. Fly.
What? To sell?
Yeah.
Well, that's a discussion for next year. That's just too new for today. If you think there's a potential, bring it up.
Is that the one where we have to do the culvert or
Yeah.
some work?
It's two councils several times.
Today, we need to consider it.
I'll also just point out, if I can, just to see the discussion more, talking to the fire chief now. He has a manning personing level desire of 35, of which about 5 are permanent residents and the rest are volunteers. He has 20 volunteers now, of whom and the volunteers have to live in the village, otherwise they're of no use to us. They don't get a pager, because what's the point? They're all housed but for 2. He would love staff rent supported or rent managed or rent controlled housing, specifically at the Ocean View project. I know that we've discussed with developers who wanted to densify the heck out of the thing and give us a few. I would suggest that council would be much better advised to actually be the developer themselves, get it constructed, fund it, and charge non-market rent.
I think that's a strategic planning session.
That's a big meeting on its own. Once
And it's been tried in council before.
That's not an issue. Discussion for today, that's a big issue.
And just to close the thought there, so I did take a kind of a look at what had been discussed as the 5-year plan from last year for CapEx versus what's in the 2023 5-year plan. So changes from last year's approved 5-year capital expenditure plan. So from 2023 to 2026, there is an estimated 13.6 million in capital expenditures. About half of that was going to be funded by the sale of land, which has been taken out in the current budget. So we've moved that to grants if we can get something, but if we don't get the money coming in, we just can't spend it. That's just how it's kind of evened out. For the 2025 5-year plan that we got from Public Works, it's about 16.5 million over the same time period. The increase is that the 2022 budget for the construction of road drainage and water main on Center Bayview Place, Upper Bayview, for 1,160 meters in 2022 was budgeted for 2.25 million. And the 2023 budget is 5.1 million.
I was going to say that's quite a lot.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, so it went up 2.8 million from last year's budget, which is this difference in the total anticipated CapEx over that same period of time.
So these notes that you've got, those would be good to see for us, right?
Yeah, I
Said that last time.
yeah, I've got a whole bunch of notes just so I can explain stuff, but
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, I just see a ton of, so essentially we've removed land sales and now we're pumping up the grants as a line item, right?
It's not gonna happen.
No, I mean, we've got what, 16.5 million in grants here. And I see our borrowing is up, right?
Yeah, that was from the original 5-year plan. it was anticipated there would be some additional borrowing. There was one that was for this year for $190,000, which we took out
Mhm.
because we're not applying for anything. But in the approved 5-year plan from last year, there was anticipated borrowing going down the road, which I haven't changed.
So if you've got $16.5 million in grants, what, 30% of that's ours, 4.5 million? How's that accounted for?
It's basically a placeholder. There's the capital, what's driving that is that we have a request for capital expenditures.
Mhm.
Here's what you want to do for the 5-year plan.
Just to balance the budget.
Just to balance it. So if we can't get the funding for it, because I know what the numbers are for what people want to spend, and this is approved by council. Or
So
money,
Let me just follow that. So you're saying you've taken the capex of, did you say the numbers? 15 16 million.
16.5
And
over
you
the.
and you put that as a capex spending.
Yeah.
And then to balance the budget, you assume we get 100% grant to pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay, which we know is never going to happen.
that's the problem, right? So I mean, the other solution, what was happening last year was that there was $10 million in land sales included that you have no idea if that's going to happen or not, which is why we took that out. That grant number would be a lot different if we kept that in.
Mhm.
What you have to do is the infrastructure has to sit down, infrastructure committee say, what is important here? And then you gotta start talking about land sales if that's important. Like if 13 million is important, it has to be done. You've got to find a way to get the money. There's different ways to get the money. There's obviously increased taxes, borrow and grants.
That's it. Those are the only 3 ways.
So what we should also get our head around is how much that raises everybody's taxes by, right?
You know, so now it's 16,001%. Taxes are not going to do it. The only way to do it is debt. And that means that the spending is paid by future taxpayers who enjoy the benefit of the new water pipe or the new road or whatever it is. But there's a cap on how much debt we can take as well.
Yeah, we still have quite a bit of space on the.
Yeah, we're nowhere near our cap.
Of what? Of borrowing?
Yeah.
Of course you're not, but I mean, that's a whole meeting in itself of how much leverage you want and how much you want to borrow, because you are encumbering the future of this community. And stuff happens. Right.
Yep.
Well, so in a way, that's why you want to preserve what cash you have for those rainy days when the water pipe bursts and it has to be fixed for $2 million. Is it really then, it's too late for a grant, obviously, you can tax next year, but right now you need 2 million, so. At least have,
I mean,
Plus, you need the cash to subtract the grants.
well, that, who knows, that's black magic in and of itself sometimes, yeah.
Do you have more questions?
no, I was just going to say,
Okay, so
something compared to what you just said there about, to Carl's point, if previous councils had actually borrowed and done some repairs, the current taxpayer wouldn't be sitting in a predicament.
no, you're not wrong at all.
So, you keep doing that, so that bow wave you create is just getting bigger.
That's right. So that leads into, for our next meeting, other than if you have some questions on the budget, is we recommended an increase in property tax to consider that. You may think the community cannot take that much of an increase, but you have to start making a nest egg. And if you don't create a nest egg, you're going to have this problem next year, because we're assuming you're getting grants of, I'm going to say $5 million. Well, we're also going to assume you have to participate in that 10, 20, 30%. Doesn't matter what the grant is, you got to pay something.
60% even sometimes.
Could be anything, yeah.
If you prefer not to have.
Oh,
sure.
So when you.
Sorry, I just remembered. What about the disaster mitigation grant? Did we put something in for the engineering? We didn't.
Which disaster?
The grant for the disaster mitigation action fund, whatever the hell it's called.
Don't know about it, sorry.
The drainage one, the one we spoke about.
Remind me.
Okay. All right. In January, it came out, we've spoken about it in 3 different council meetings, and I spoke to you about it, and we've had residents writing about it. So we got this opportunity to have a grant that's a 40-60 grant, and I think the drainage fits perfectly to it. Spoke about this. And I know it's only 40-60, but it's something we have to do anyway. We have 7 years to do it. No, 10 years to do it. I think it goes out to 2032. It doesn't have to be one project. You do little pieces each year, you can roll it over. And all it has to do is something that fixes climate resilience. Does anyone remember in the conversation there?
Yep.
Thank goodness, I don't just speak to myself. And then we spoke in the last meeting about putting some design money in for that, but it's not here. We don't know what it is, but we spoke about taking the ocean view drainage thing, paring it down, using it, and then prorating that across the village and coming up with a number.
Well, I mean, we haven't,
Because the grant doesn't call for a design or shovel-ready projects or anything. But we've got to get it in before July 19th, so it has to be a priority.
well, we don't need money for the grant application.
We need money for some sort of engineering estimate if we want to do it that way, unless we want to just do it ourselves.
So I'm meeting with ISL and it's on my ISL list this week. Okay, let me. I know I said leave it to me last time, and I give the appearance of having forgotten, but it's in my notes.
It's in your notes. You have forgotten what's in the notes. That's just halfway there. Can we put some money in for it?
Yeah.
Make a number, is it 20 grand?
I would think that the design number that we have here would be
We cover it.
covered, yeah, for Ocean View. Because that's the one, if not Ocean View, Bayview. The big problem with Bayview is that's designed.
Okay, actually, I think that number's high, so you've got quite a bit of design money. Okay, so we can put that into the same conversation.
Yeah. So I want ISL to give us indicative budget in support of the disaster mitigation.
Yeah. So it would be specific to some reasons and general to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like we design Ocean View or a relative design of Ocean View.
we change the ocean view design we got that we don't like. And then we could take that and say, well, how many kilometers of road could we get for $2 million of grant money? And then put that in. But someone needs to go through the grant and just understand.
Well, I was just about to say, I need to understand what the
But the
amount
parameters.
is, yeah.
Yeah. It seemed to be
We
very.
can actually do the Alberta water main bridge as well. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to,
You can only apply. You can apply for multiple projects, but they all have to have one goal or one target. So you can have multiple drainage projects, but you can't do a drainage project here and a sea level rise project there and some other mitigation zones.
okay.
That's the way it reads.
And so the disaster that we would be seeking to mitigate would be washouts?
Washouts. And we've got evidence every year we get more and more pictures. We have one every year, right?
That would be the rubric. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're going to get worse.
Okay.
And that applies to Bayview.
That applies to Bayview.
Drainage.
Mid
Yeah.
Bayview.
Yeah.
Upper Bayview. Ocean View.
Mhm.
All the views, in fact.
All the steep roads that have these problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can sit down and talk about that because that's not really germane, because you're right. But I think this 100,000 that we have in here, 50-50,
There's more than enough.
is more than enough
I
to
agree.
engage the engineer to come up with the backstop.
Yeah.
Is it like a comfort letter? Is it a preliminary study? Because we're not giving them a lot of time.
It was vague. All I looked through it for make sure it didn't ask for a design and a shovel-ready project, because someone mentioned that, and it doesn't say that.
I better check this out. The name of it is Disaster Mitigation Fund.
Yes. There's I think it might say it might be disaster mitigation.
And
Action
adaptation.
Fund. Adaptation fund, that's it. Adaptation. I knew there was an A in there somewhere.
Adaptation, resilience and disaster mitigation
Oh,
program.
there's too many words. Is it an acronym?
Disaster. Yes.
Okay, no, I haven't got it yet. Okay,
Do you want a yellow highlighter for this?
I threw a box around.
So like I said, the biggest discussion point has to be, I mean, talking about the budget is fine, but where do you want to end up?
In terms of the 5-year plan. Oh, this year.
You're talking
This
about
year,
what interest is what you're talking about? Do we want it at 7? Do we want it at 5, 4,
3,
3?
but where do you want to be?
Three's not the discussion, Curtis.
3 doesn't cover inflation.
Three's not in
Well, we're going 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Maybe we should just increase.
No,
according to CPI, we don't have to have this discussion.
6.1. Just CPI, I need to.
But I think, I've
Got it, CPI.
there's been a lot of work in terms of looking where the money is, and where the money's going and so on. I think I think it would be a really good message to keep our tax rate as low as we can.
The general categories, right?
Whether it's,
Eligible hazard.
something just under 5. I don't know. I think.
Well, the only way we keep things low is we're taking off our assets. And that's what we don't want to do.
At it's 5%, what's our surplus, current surplus?
Okay, well, I don't have that on the summary sheet because the summary sheet includes 7%.
At 7%, what's the surplus?
At 7%, our surplus is surplus
Current
overall.
surplus, Current surplus.
Yeah, is $1,100,000. And then on a cash basis, it's 1.7 million. after you take out amortization.
So 1.7 million is cash surplus. So we have, and what about these changes to capital we just talked about?
So it's going, well, it's the adding the cloud building is not going to do anything because it's adding CapEx, but we also increase branding.
That's not going to change it.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything.
So where the money is going is the other non-grant funded capital projects. It's like 1.
So let's call it 1.1 million is actual surplus. 1.7 is a cash surplus. Whenever you cut from cash versus actual, because amortization assumes you're going to replace that. Like you always have to replace the capital. It sounds like a big number, but it's not. When you think of all grants that we're assuming you get 100% grants the next year. Right. So you can't go up and say, well, that's a big number.
It would be one of the lower capital budgets that council's passed in 10 years.
A lower surplus, a budgeted surplus, or a lower.
Well, I mean, okay, aside from which tax increase it is that produces a surplus or no surplus, this capital number that you're needing to support is very low compared. We've spent 3.5, 4 sometimes. And tax, there's been grants. For example, the 5 tanks project that turned into the 1 tank project, that was $2.71 million. That's a lot of money. That was 70% grant funded, but it's still capital.
Well, throw it as 7, maybe too high, 3 is too low.
Yeah, and to Carl's point, I mean, every year we've been focusing on at least one big capex project. And the DWIP project, for example, has been kicking around for 4 years.
It's all over to you.
And in this year, we're not putting anything like that in here. All we're putting is the Band-Aid stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's a council decision, that's really a political decision.
Well, that's what we need, a strategy session.
Yeah.
We haven't had a strategy session yet. Fortunately, we're doing a budget without a strategy session, but
Yeah, well, I think, I've made my position pretty clear a number of times in terms of, I think it's, if we can reflect some of the savings that we've had and kind of focus on that end of it as well, I think that would be really, really wise. So I'm thinking something under 5.
At a 7% increase, property taxes will be 1.8 million. At a 5% increase, they're 1.76.
1 what?
$1,767,000. And so I've got these notes included in the package that I've sent to council.
In the last one?
So that was,
Where are they those, right?
It's on the revenue page. It's page 8 of 27. Got a little sensitivity.
so 84,000 difference,
8 of 27.
8 to 27, yeah.
It's not a big impact.
No, it's very small. That's the point. It's you're presenting a number. And people are going to compare it to other municipalities.
That's exactly right.
so that's look at the 7% number because that seemed to what you had plugged in, right?
Yeah.
That 117,000. That doesn't include the infrastructure
No, the infrastructure is separate.
So it's actually 10% more than that.
Yes, with the separate infrastructure as a separate line item, it's pegged 10% exactly to whatever the property tax amount is.
Yes, so it's actually 10% more than that.
Yeah, in total, yes.
So the 196 is then actually how much each household's going up is actually 220.
If you factor in the infrastructure. So.
Doesn't work. How many houses do you have?
Oh, I put in 600. That's what I heard from
530.
We don't have 600, we have 530.
530. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's kind
I was going to say that something wasn't adding up for me there. Yeah, I
530. Okay.
think that's the.
You're looking at development.
I just know that we don't.
Carol, is that on that new Ocean View Place?
I was with 528, single family residential, 18 multifamily.
Was it 530, the number that I remember hearing what 534 ones.
And
So that number is really closer to 250 per household.
If I include the infrastructure and then move down to 530, yeah.
So are you doing an average of an increase of 250 per house?
I'm just adjusting the numbers Joe put in. Yeah, he came up with 195, but it's really 250, 245.
I will say that I heard every year, yeah, but some people pay way less than that, and some people pay way more. So, it depends on the assessment.
Mhm.
Some people will be paying 3 times that, and some people will be paying 1/3 of that. So you need to be conscious of the absolute numbers.
The absolute number, yes.
That's why I asked the same, I was thinking of the same thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
we know there's a big spirit.
Yeah.
Disparity and
I mean, I could see us going with something like, West Stand's at 4.57. If we came somewhere around there. 4.5.
When Vancouver raises their tax at 9%,
10.7 according to this.
so he said now it's gone up again.
Surrey's 12.5, Langley's 11.50.
Then you're talking about billions of dollars extra.
Port Moody was at I think 11%, and then there was a lot of flack, and so they moved it down under 10% just for optics.
What was their justification for needing it? Inflation being the obvious one.
I didn't read into their council's decision-making process. I just kind of
Disaster adaptation, resilience, mitigation.
requirement, possibly. I just picked the numbers that they're publishing as far as rates.
Well, I guess, I think we're going to achieve some efficiencies this year, and if we could reflect that, that would be great.
What are these efficiencies?
Well, we got 200,000 more out of bank interest, 100,000 more of the bank interest. And I think we're gonna, I think we need to look at our staffing levels and to look at
I don't think we should be making those assumptions.
The money, the cash surplus, Joe, goes into general reserve.
It goes into a variety, so
So you're purposely funding a reserve, in other words.
yeah, so there's so the cash surplus, there's a portion of it goes to is appropriated for payment of debt. A portion of it goes to the gas tax fund, which we end up projecting to use in 2025, but we're building up that fund. Infrastructure levy goes.
So you found the gas fund that's to be used in 2025.
That's where the budget has it going, yes.
I believe that may be 24 now, but that's.
There was a period by which you had to use that money,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So it's not, okay, we know it's not this year.
It's not this.
600K if I remember correctly.
650 of my budgeted for it. And then there's an amount that goes from the infrastructure levy, goes into the reserves for that, and then the wastewater treatment plant goes into reserves as well. So what you're left over with is realistically, let's say, for example, in 2023, what you're kind of left with is, okay, we have a cash surplus of 1.7 million. We're looking at before I add the cloud building investment in and out. Estimated grants of $1.5 million, and then we're looking at capital expenditures of 1.5 million. So it's
less 85,
that's 85, yeah,
less 85.
So it's a break-even budget.
basically, yeah.
So once again, no taxing for reserves, other than the infrastructure levy,
No, what's her?
taxing for reserves. No funding of amortization. And that's every council since
This
in every province of the country does exactly that. Until quite recently, PSAP didn't require you to even consider amortization. So, but I mean, that's a real political decision. You're taking current taxpayers' money to pay for future taxpayers' benefits.
Oh, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Are we done? I'm done.
Now, one question, where are all the resident comments on the budget? We've got incoming emails here from residents and I think the advice was given that it come directly to council, but the budget or budgets one stays up. What's sitting in that inbox?
I received in that inbox two emails. One was requesting information about the cost for the by-election.
Mhm.
So I responded to that. The resident was asking why it was originally budgeted at 35,000 and then we came down to 15,000. So the original amount was based on a quote from a third party to what it would cost to run it. And then the council found somebody else to administer the by-election at a reduced footed rate, which is why it came down. And that was discussed in the finance meeting and with council.
Hang on, Joe. These have been forwarded to council.
No, they haven't.
These emails have been forwarded to council.
No, they haven't. That's my point, is that the residents are writing to council because they're not getting anything from this so-called budget or budgets thing. And we'd gotten advice that there be no vetting. And so now council isn't seeing this until residents write to council directly.
Joe,
It's unacceptable.
There's two emails. Both have been forwarded to council, correct?
I think.
I asked this question specifically this morning. They have been forwarded to council.
By the residents separately.
No. Through the budget process. We get the budget email, it goes straight to council.
Have not gotten that. We're getting it from,
That's what we talked about.
That's what we agreed with you, but it hasn't happened.
it hasn't happened.
So it has or hasn't?
It's not automatically forwarded, no.
Oh, it has to be. I thought we set that up.
Well, the simple solution would have been not to set up this budget or budgets one, and that was the advice that was given. So I don't know why that hasn't happened. We got residents now writing in, and because they haven't been, there is a vetting going on.
There's no vetting. Why would we vet an email?
Well, because they're not coming to us, so
There's
they're,
two emails only.
well, that's,
Emails that are copied to.
that's what there are two residents.
Council.
So they were or they weren't?
Well, let's look. This one's, does it say budget?
I think the staff is trying to be as open as possible. This has never happened in any other council here.
What's
So
that?
this is that they've posted the budget for the residents to provide input. This is the first time, so they're doing as good a job as they can. And if there's some cracks that are things have slipped through, then let's correct them.
We'll fix it.
Well,
If it's not quite late, right, that's
Let's not get abused.
Normally residents
Yeah.
would have had 3 months to chime in on this, would have been in agenda packages. This is all highly accelerated. And now residents are writing to council because, we're not getting their input.
Well, there's two, and one of them went to council and to budget. And the other one came in at 12:30 today, is that right?
Okay, the point is, we were going to get them
And it
automatically.
didn't come, yeah, and
The
that.
point is, we're going to get them automatically.
Error made.
So it's a simple thing. It's just an order forward to council. So we get it, and then your reply gets order forward to council.
Sure.
So we get it. So we don't have to have residents saying, I've seen something and no one has to be. That hasn't happened. That's what we agreed would happen. That hasn't happened. It's simple.
What was the second one?
The second one was the one from Norm.
Yeah.
But he copied council as well as, and that's the only reason we saw it.
Maybe that's what Joe's comment was. And I did ask this morning, did they go to council? And he said, yes.
Yeah, Norm sent it to both places.
Okay, so then you did get them.
That one,
They weren't forwarded.
no, the one we got to both, Norm sent it. both.
Yeah, but
The other,
checks and it's already gone to council. Yeah, okay, sure.
Was the other one sent to council?
no.
No, from the other resident, there was a typo in the email address, so she sent it out on Friday to budgets at Lions Bay and then re-forwarded it on Monday. So I took a look at that today, but I believe that was also copied to council because it was there's
No, she sent it then, I guess, got frustrated that, and then sent it directly to us.
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
So it's everything that was in my inbox has been shared as far as I know with council.
Okay. Well, we didn't know that until now, because they weren't coming directly to council. Okay. There's only been two.
All right, Joe, anything else?
That's all I've got for now. I think we kind of went beyond what the purpose of the meeting here was for the infrastructure, but at least get a little bit of a head start for next meeting.
Good. Any other questions from the councillors before we adjourn?
I'm good.
Okay, we could actually open it up for questions if there's any questions, just even though that's not on our agenda, we're missing that, but that's fine. Any questions from the gallery? No, okay, motion to adjourn,
You have a motion to receive this for information purposes. So,
motion to receive for information purposes.
Yes.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, carried. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Yes.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Good, we'll go. So thank you, Ron. Thank you.
You want to meet Thursday, Friday in person or just Zoom?
Good.
I'm finding in person.
Just do the hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid's good.
So we said Thursday at 5 and Friday at 7, correct?
I was going to check with you the bird friendly thing Friday. The whole workshop.
I saw that. I've got that on my list. We're having a staff meeting on Thursday.